Loki, episode 3 of season 2. We're halfway through that show already. So, and all I'll say right now is it's much better than Secret Invasion in my point of view. So,
we can declare that it's definitely much better than.
Yeah, I mean the bar's pretty low, but it's like thank God finally it's something that I actually can just watch and doesn't feel like a chore.
Right. So, Mike, I was watching this worm, like when it rains, and matter of fact, it rained a lot this weekend.
Yeah.
But I was watching this worm crawl across the my sidewalk.
Yeah.
Right. I was going into my house, and I thought, wow, that's better than Secret Invasion.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Only Comics. I'm Mike. This is Adrian.
Good morning. Good morning.
What's up, bro? How we doing?
We good, man. Fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing colors. I'm loving it, dude. Loving it.
I was gone for a couple of days. Came back, my whole car was covered in leaves. I look kind of cool. I want to kind of drive it like that. They all blew off. But,
Nice.
A couple of days, but it was a little wet for a couple of days, but no, nice, cool breeze this morning. But we're coming in hot today, Adrian.
Right.
We got some stuff going on. We got a jam-packed show. We got Loki, episode 3 of season 2. We're halfway through that show already. So, and all I'll say right now is it's much better than Secret Invasion in my point of view. So,
we can declare that it's definitely much better than.
Yeah, I mean the bar's pretty low, but it's like thank God finally it's something that I actually can just watch and doesn't feel like a chore.
Right. So, Mike, I was watching this worm, like when it rains, and matter of fact, it rained a lot this weekend.
Yeah.
But I was watching this worm crawl across the my sidewalk.
Yeah.
Right. I was going into my house, and I thought, wow, that's better than Secret Invasion.
You should have taken a video of it, sent it to me. We could have reviewed that instead of the last episode. So we have that. We have Agree to Disagree, which hey, online a lot of the fans and followers of they really love that segment. Okay. So they have their feelings. Some of them agree, some of them don't. One of them said this guy's whack. It's like I guess I've been called worse things. Maybe I'm whack. I don't know. And then they're like, oh, these guys are just talking heads. They're making stuff up. It's like what before you, if you've never watched our show before, I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler. We're going to give our opinions, and they're probably not going to be the same as yours.
Right.
And we don't say it for the sake of having hot takes. That's not our thing. It's just we're very opinionated, and we don't. I would say, Adrian, we don't just follow what the masses say.
Right.
Fair. We form our own opinions. And we take this ride with, like we tell you every week, on the multiverse of the comic book world. And we're fighting opinions, we're fighting stupidity, we're fighting perspectives. And with that being said, we normally start this fight with our first segment, Adrian, Newsflash, buddy. We got some stuff going on. You've said this before on the show. You said, I think they're watching us, right?
Right.
Who's they in your mind? Who's they that's watching us?
Well, definitely Tom Cruise.
Yes, definitely.
All the directors of these shows, these movies that they're putting out over the last couple of years. I think they're struggling, man. They're struggling, and they need some direction. So I think they're watching us for that, for that direction.
Yep. Now that's I don't I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, Adrian. Right. The other perspective could be we know what we're talking about. So we say things, we suggest things, and they happen, right? So we did a show a few weeks back. We actually had a guest on for that. It was the Death in the Family review. Remember that deep dive? So if you've not watched that episode, we do a deep dive into A Death in the Family, one of the most iconic Batman graphic novels. Right, it's where Jason Todd is killed off. Okay. We were talking about the rumor that there was a version of this story already in print where Jason Todd survived, right? Because the whole hotline, it wasn't a rumor, actually, it's been confirmed. But it's never been released to the public. And we said that'd be pretty cool to see, right? The version of what happened in the and it was only decided, I think it was like what was it, over 1,000 votes or something? It was very close.
It's like 700 votes. Yeah.
Yep. So actually, wait, I'm gonna put the article. 72 vote margin.
72?
Jesus, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that was close. So, it was a pretty good chance that he would have survived.
Yep.
And we would have saw this other version. We said it'd be cool to see.
Right.
Well, I got some news for you, Adrian. DC is in December, they're going to release the alternate version of Batman 428, which is that issue where James Todd is killed.
I'm not liking that.
No?
I'm not like, no. So it's almost like one side of me is thinking, okay, they're grasping at straws, right? They took something that was very popular and they're running with it. The other side is, well, the reason that you left it up to the fans to vote is because you wanted to honor the fans. If you weren't going to honor the fans, you shouldn't have never did the vote, came out with the death in the family, and put out the alternate ending. So now you're going against the vote, right? Yeah. So this guy got caught. He's a murderer, right? You got put in jail. Then the court decides, well, just because the jury decided that he goes to jail, well, we're gonna just let him out. Just let him out. This is the same thing. So, so now you're taking our vote away from us. So on that's one side of it. The other side is, it's popular. I'd be curious, but I think I'm probably going to be disappointed because I don't think it's going to be as impactful as the actual death in the family.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying. So you think releasing it kind of like cheapens what they did?
Right. Like right now, if they brought Tony Stark back, right, after his death, they can do like what happened up to his death. They can show like Rhodey, what happened with Rhodey along the same timeline. But if you brought him back, if you miraculously brought him up some kind of way, it'll kind of cheapen his death. And I think they're going to do the same thing here.
So you almost don't even want to see it because of where, after reading this, what you know about this, that impact that's had, you're like, I don't even want to see that.
Right.
Got it. Yeah. See, I hear that, but then and then another point you made, which, I don't feel the same way about that. It wouldn't cheapen it for me. But another part that I agree with you about is the fact that version is not going to be as good as this version. Right. There's no way, right. and I think it's, only by 72 votes. So I guess we lucked out that those 72 individuals voted. But yeah, I agree from that standpoint. It will not improve the story. It will be the worst of the two versions. You know.
Right.
But I for what it is, I don't mind seeing it. But it also does confirm the fact that you've pointed out they're listening. Right. So we brought this up. Just saying.
Yep.
All right. Next up, Marvel wants to make more shows like Loki. Is what one website's promoting, and what they mean by that is show. So they've kind of had a mix of their shows here, right? Yeah. They've had was there another show from the Disney Plus era that has a second season? I think Loki is the first one, right? Unless I'm losing my freaking mind. WandaVision's one season. The Captain, the Winter Soldier, Falcon show's been one season.
Well, all of Hell's Family, all Hell's Kitchen characters have more than one
the
season.
Netflix ones, yes. But of the Disney Plus era.
Disney. Disney Plus era.
Hawkeye's one season. She-Hulk was one season. Secret Invasion, thankfully, has only been one season so far.
Right. That should have been one show.
Yeah, definitely. Just give us the first episode. That was good. Right.
You're right.
I think it's the only one, right? So, and a lot of these shows were just one-offs. Like that Winter Soldier show was just created so you could see Sam taking over the Captain America, role completely.
Right.
Hawkeye show was really just to pass the torch to Kate Bishop, the new Hawkeye.
Right. So all these 10-plus year actors in the Avengers are aging out.
Yes.
And they're passing the baton, basically.
Right. Yep, what you've been asking for. You've been suggesting that like other,
right.
Like DC, so, Michael Keaton could have passed the torch to somebody. Right. But yeah, I think Loki's the only one that was not created as just to be the catalyst for something else.
And which makes sense because he's not A-listed, at least he wasn't an A-listed character in the comics. He was always, Thor's sidekick.
Yeah.
Right. So now he got prominence in the Avengers.
Yep.
Right. So now he has his own sidebar, which he should. And at the very least, they should do the same thing with other characters, like the hidden gems we've been talking about, right?
Yep.
Give them their own show as a sidebar, just to show the width and the depth of Marvel's universe, DC's universe.
Right.
So this makes perfect sense to me. Especially, also Loki's a good show.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, which is very, I guess surprising for their track record lately, right?
Right.
But I guess Loki was maybe the second or third show that was released because WandaVision was the first show they released,
which is a good show.
Which was a good show. Which on agree to disagree, we both agree that it was the best Marvel show so far.
Right
now, actually, I don't want to give a preview to my agree to disagree because I have a theory. But yeah, I like this idea.
Sure.
Them being more, and this also kind of piggybacks off of the piece of news that we covered last week with Kevin Feige firing a couple writers from the Daredevil show because he was not satisfied with the episodes that he saw, so they had a handful already filmed. And I like that they're just changing their approach to, because it's one thing for a studio to release shitty movies, shitty shows. DC has been making a career out of it. They make shitty movies like it's their job to make shitty movies.
Right.
Like someone actually asked them to do that.
Right.
But up until the DCU, they've not reshaped their formula. They keep trying to do the same shit.
Well, all this news is coming out since Only Comics been on.
That's
online,
true. That's right.
So they are listening. So Feige firing people, as hurtful as that might be, they're listening. They're previewing the show, and they're like, "Wow, Mike and Adrian might think this part is shitty here. So let me just get rid of these guys, right?" So they're watching.
I agree. Do you think Kevin, when he fired them, he hit him with the newsflash, buddy? It's your last day.
You know what? I think he probably has like a bat that just has, newsflash, buddy, on it.
Yes.
He just raises it just so he doesn't, you know how they got that clap in movies to start and stop.
Yep.
He don't want to distract everybody, so he just got a bat, just holds it up.
That makes sense because he looks like someone that would use that phrase.
Right.
I mean, he's probably used it on set before. They're doing something that's not in the newsflash, buddy. That's not how it's done.
Right.
So. I like this news. I like the fact that, and we talked about this a little bit last week. They also didn't hire showrunners. So, typically with a show, a show is obviously a much bigger production than a movie as far as content-wise. A movie's a couple hours. This show, Loki, when it's all said and done, will be 5-6 hours.
Right.
So there's a lot more content, and because it's episodic, it's shot differently. So typically, and we're not experts here. So you're like, that's not exactly how it is. You're probably right. But I don't really care. But basically, in Hollywood, traditional way to create shows, there's showrunners that run the shows, right? Movies have directors.
Yep.
And what Marvel tried to do through this process was not hire showrunners, instead just have their directors kind of run the show, and they were filmed like movies. Now, this is we're partly joking, but I've said this from day one when we started doing this show. My biggest issue with a lot of the Marvel shows is they feel like movies. They don't feel like shows.
Right.
Well, you're hiring guys who create movies to make shows instead of the people who make shows to make shows.
Right.
Why? Hence why they feel like fucking long movies.
Right.
So there you go. They're listening again, or it's just that we know what we're talking about. So they're making these changes because these are actually the issues with the shows.
Right. Exactly.
So I'm excited for this, man. How about you?
Oh, definitely excited about it. I just wish they would, bring out, and we'll get into it later with my hidden gem, but I just wish they bring out, more prominent, some of those hidden characters,
right.
Retire the Hawkeyes because he's nothing anyway. Bring in some of the sleepers, that's been around forever. And they just not getting any kind of time. No screen time, no print time, no animation time, not even a conversation. Bring those people out. So I'm excited about it, and it would be cool to see them have other characters like Loki. Those B-listers. So the B-roll, of characters. Give them the shows and bring out the A-listers. On the big screen, and then sprinkle in the B-listers every once in a while.
Right. I agree. Next up, speaking of shows, speaking of WandaVision, there's a WandaVision spinoff that I don't know how many times they've changed the name of this show. Is it a joke at this point?
Right.
But, at one point it was Coven of Chaos. At another point it was House of Harkness, right? Currently what it's being called, Agatha, Darkhold Diaries, okay? So it's tying into the whole WandaVision, Doctor Strange. Remember, the Darkhold played a big factor in that.
Diaries. It sounds like a Barbie kind of movie. Well, Barbie before the last Barbie movie
not
came
that.
out.
Yeah,
anyway.
Darkhold Diaries. Now, initially, when I heard they were having a spinoff of WandaVision, I was like, okay, WandaVision, great show, good idea. But I'm gonna read this this synopsis of the first episode, Adrian, and I'm gonna tell you why I changed my mind. Okay, so in the first episode, we see Agatha Harkness, Catherine Hahn, who I thought did a great job playing Agatha, break out of a spell she's been trapped in. She can't wait to go back to her old murderous ways, only to find she's powerless. The only way forward is for her to embark on a perilous quest to get her powers back with the help of an unlikely friend or two. Okay. Now, Agatha, as far as I know, is pretty much a villain, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, she was a villain in this WandaVision show. I'm not an expert on Scarlet Witch and all that, but I'm pretty sure she's a villain in most of the comics. First of all, this first episode description does not make me want to watch this show at all. Makes me want to actually skip this. We're going to do our MCU kind of hypothetical rewatch with skips. I'd skip this one right already, just knowing what's going on in this first episode. But, dude, I'm tired of, we talk about the origin stories being overused. A lot of these, like, superhero comic book little plots are overused. The whole hero or villain loses their powers.
Right.
Now they have to go on this quest to get them back, and they're going to have some help from some unlikely friends. So it's like you take the villains and turn them into heroes. There's plenty of heroes.
Right.
It's my issue with Venom. Venom's a Spider-Man villain.
Right.
But we've made 2 movies of making him a hero, right? And then the whole lose the powers, get him back. How many times do we need to see that?
Right.
We've seen that in a Wolverine movie. We've seen that in Deadpool when he puts the thing on his neck. We've seen that in Spider-Man when he loses his powers with the web shooters and arm. Like, why do we need to go? You said this before. There's so many stories in the comic books.
Right.
So many. There's also so many different plot lines you can use.
Right.
And we do the same shit. So this, I'm not excited. The fact that they keep changing the name tells me they don't know what the fuck they're doing with the show. Right. Thankfully, they're going to fire people, before the show's released and fix the show then instead of releasing it then blaming them.
Right.
So maybe that's a good thing. But as of right now, with this description and the name change 4 or 5 times, and it sounds like they're trying to make Agatha into some type of hero, I'm not looking forward to this show. How about you?
I actually forgot all about that coming out, so it kind of doesn't make any difference to me at this point. I mean, it'll probably sit there right next to Hawkeye. Like, I haven't gotten past episode two on that. So it's kind of like WandaVision, just like Miss Marvel, was a surprise. Yep. But it engaged me almost immediately. Those 2 shows, and Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night. I'm struggling, dude. I'm still trying to watch those shows, and it's painful. So I'm not really, like I said, forgot all about this spinoff, but so I'm not looking forward to it at all.
Nope, we're gonna give it a thumbs down here. So, Werewolf by Night, by the way, was just released in color.
That's the one I started watching the other day. It seemed to, and dude, it was so painful. I got to where they were like in this maze or something, like the first episode, and it just kept dragging on and dragging on and dragging on. You hear the howls in the middle of the night. Usually movies like that, they open up with some savagery, right?
Yep.
All I get is this howling. 45 minutes into the show, I just switched and started watching the Cullen family, Edward and everything. Okay. Which, interestingly, right? So I'm watching that actually this morning, and in it, he's talking about like a comic book kind of. He's like, is that like superhero kind of things? Yeah. Blah blah blah. So it was interesting.
Wait, what is this?
Twilight. The first Twilight.
Got it.
When he's talking.
Man, so Werewolf, what's shit called Werewolf by Night was so bad it made you go watch Twilight.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Holy shit! Oh, you just want to get some werewolf action?
Something. I've been on this werewolf thing for like the last week or something. But it's like, Werewolf by Night. No.
Wow. Yeah, I saw the black and white one, and I thought it was okay. And I think I was more interested because I'm like, how does this tie into? What is this going to tie into? Mm-hmm. You know, so I wasn't disappointed by it, but I will say that it did take a long time for me to have any idea what the hell was going on. Right. You know, it wasn't bad, but I'm in no rush to go watch it again. Yeah. You know. So, all right. Next up, so that's the Agatha. Now, prediction, Adrian, do you think they'll change the name of this again before it's released?
I'm sure they will. Yeah. But I hope they don't. Catherine Hahn, I just thought about it. I just realized she's the chick that played in Bad Mom or Bad Mama. Or something.
She was in one.
That movie was funny.
That's funny. Yeah,
that movie was funny.
There's one on now that they said it's kind of like in the same genre of movies. It's on Netflix called Old Dads with Bill Burr.
Oh my God,
I've not seen it. Bill Burr's funny.
Yeah.
So I'm always hesitant about any type of Netflix comedy, or actually most comedies now they suck, to be honest.
Right.
But Bill Burr's pretty funny, so I did read about it. Looks and they compared it to Bad Moms. They said this is a good movie to watch right after watching Bad Moms. Like,
okay.
All right. This is our last piece of news. One Avenger actor reportedly wants to quit the MCU due to the toxic fans. Okay. So there's some book that came out recently, and I saw this in a couple of articles. One that I did not include here, but it seems to be, it's called MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, author Joanna Robinson. Now, she's supposedly some type of Marvel insider. She released some information about Kevin Feige firing one of the executives a few years ago, some lady who was at the company for like 15 years because she didn't want to remove the LGBT content from one of their movies for a certain demographic overseas, right? So, like, you know, every country has their own feelings about, you know, that whole demographic, and, you know, Marvel includes representation in all their films. Some countries say, hey, if you have that in the film, we won't play it in our country.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but hey, it's their country.
Right.
So as a studio, you have a decision to make. Do I want to play it in their country? I have to remove this. Or if I, want to stand. And this individual felt that they shouldn't have removed it, so she refused to remove the content. She was like the head of, like, VX or whatever on the Ant-Man movie that wasn't released there. So on and so forth. The reason I bring that up is that also was discussed in this book, I guess. And another piece of news in that same book talks about how Brie Larson, they said that she was disillusioned about playing Captain Marvel, and that she feels she doesn't want to play her anymore because of the toxic feedback from the fans. Now, this, and as I've nothing against Brie Larson. I don't know her. She's an actress. I've seen her in other films. I thought in the movie Room she was great. I don't like her as Captain Marvel. Right. So, and it's not like I'm not a toxic fan. I just don't like the portrayal. I don't think it's not a good character.
Right.
And I don't know what the character is. She's just like this chick who's a wise ass. And that's like it. That's her personality. She's a smart ass.
Right.
And arrogant. I don't know why she's arrogant. She's arrogant and smart ass. That's her character.
Right.
She's not interesting. So it's not, so my point is it the toxic fan? Now, I'm sure fans can get toxic. They can say some nasty shit, right? I don't, people who want to give death threats over actors and all that shit. Whatever. I just don't think that she is the right actress for that role. Or I just don't like her portrayal of that role. Maybe it's the way it's written. I don't know. But it's just, it's funny. It reminds me of the directors when it's like, you didn't understand my movie. You're stupid. Like, no, maybe it was just a shitty movie. Right? Maybe it's not toxic fans. So I would actually be okay if Brie Larson stepped down from Captain Marvel. I'm not a toxic fan. I don't hate her. I think she's a great actress. I just don't like her in this role. How do you feel about this?
Well, like you, I have no feelings about Brie Larson. I don't know her either.
Yep.
I don't think that she's a good actress. Okay. Of course, I've only seen her in two things, and they were both with Sam Jackson.
Right.
That's why I think that he kind of like pulled her along into this thing. But Brie, it's not you. It's not you. It's the directors. They chose you to play this role in which you are unsuited for. No pun intended. Brie is not the person to play Captain Marvel.
Right.
It's like you go into a store and you don't know what you're looking for until you find it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the directors went in the store and pulled Brie Larson off the shelf because she was the one closest to the door. It's not her, and she looks like she's disillusioned while she's playing Captain Marvel. You know, she got this look in her eyes, like, I don't want to be here kind of a thing.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to use one of her powers and be invisible, even though that's not one of her powers. So she is just the wrong person for that character role. I don't know who is the better, but she is not it.
Yeah.
And they should have pulled a Chris Evans with the Human Torch and just pulled him immediately.
Yeah.
Or pulled her immediately and replaced her with somebody else. I mean, they do it all the time, right?
Right.
So I don't know what was the importance of putting her there, but I would be glad that she stepped down.
Yeah.
And they found somebody else to do it.
Right. So last week we didn't have a Buster, Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna vote that the Buster this week is just Marvel for a handful of these reasons. One, for casting Brie Larson.
Yep.
And then leaving her out there to dry.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Two, for not being able to figure out this Agatha show.
Right.
3 different freaking name changes.
Mm-hmm.
I give them kudos for what they're doing with the Loki show, but maybe we'll just chalk that up to Kevin Feige's idea. So I'm saying this week, Marvel's the Buster this week.
I'm on the fence.
Okay.
But I can see your point. Because it just seems like they're trending on some shitty stuff.
Yeah.
So I can go along with it, but the fact that they are also watching the show gives them a leg up.
Yeah,
in my mind.
True.
And they are making changes based on the advice that we're giving. So I'm kind of like on the fence with it, but I can understand.
All right, they're like half a Buster this week.
Right.
All right, we'll go with half a Buster.
Yeah,
Better than none. So, well, there's the news. We are not your typical news station, by the way. But at least the news here will have real opinions, not what the studio gave us. Next up, Adrian, we have your segment. You kind of did a nice little marketing along the way, some promo. You mentioned Hidden Gems a few times. And I'm going to turn this over to you. This has been a segment that's been a lot of fun. We talk a lot about our comic book kind of background, our origin stories in comics. Yep. You started a lot earlier than I did. You got a few years on me. And one thing that you have a lot more, I guess, knowledge of comics, right? I'm probably like one leg in comics. I know a lot about like Batman and X-Men, and you kind of have a broader, deeper range. So you've been tasked with weekly coming up with a hidden gem. We've had some great ones. We've had, speaking of Captain Marvel, you had Binary on here.
Right.
We had Doctor Doom. We've had who else? We had Guardian. Guardian.
Nope.
From Alpha Flight.
Oh, that Guardian.
That Guardian,
yes.
Yeah. Who actually, when you suggested him, I thought you were talking about the one you had today.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. We've had, who else have you had? Constantine,
Nova,
Wendigo,
yeah.
That was a good one. So, Firestorm, another one. So check out that playlist, Hidden Gem playlist. And I'm going to turn this over to you, Adrian. Who do we have on Hidden Gem this week?
All right. So being like into science and space and stuff when I was a kid, this really fit in with me. This character, this week's character is basically an alien, very powerful, and just another reason why I think there's so many stories, so many characters in the Marvel universe alone, DC universe. That we can create so many more movies other than regurgitating Batman and Spider-Man and Superman and all these characters that we see for decades on end. It also fits into the sideline, like I'm saying, create on the streaming platforms, create shows about these kind of characters.
Yeah. And
the character this week is the Gladiator. Gladiator is he's a Stratonian, and he is basically, he was created in 1977. This is how long this character's been around. Wow. 1977, he was created in the likeness of Superman. As a matter of fact, his name, Clark, if it sounds familiar.
Yeah, Kal. Yeah.
So his name is a mashup of Clark Kent and Kal-El, Clark.
Wow.
Right? So he has all of Superman's powers.
Yeah.
But this also goes, this character actually the way they talk about his power set makes you think that they're actually neutering Superman. Because he has exactly the same powers as Superman without his weaknesses. Okay. So there's no magic rock that'll kill him or turn him into some sex fiend or whatever, you know. But he does have a weakness. So the Gladiator, basically he's the captain of a Imperial Guard. He's from a race that was developed and trained to protect the Shi'ar Empire. Okay. Right? So one race protecting another race of people, right? So he was in a group where their last assignment, they all had strength and all this other kind of stuff, which is they're basically warriors. So imagine the movie 300. Yeah. They're kind of like them, right? Okay. With superpowers. So their final test was to go to their planet and kill the elders who basically raised them. That's what their final test. And whoever did that would get the ultimate bestowment of power. Okay. And out of the team, it was like a small team, like say 7 of these gladiators. This Clark was the only one that actually carried out the assignment. So he went. So basically, say your grandparents, right? Yeah. You go off to school, and the school tells you, hey, in order to get this prize, you got to go and kill your grandparents. So it was kind of like that kind of a thing. So he did it. Wow. Took him out, and the emperor, the guy who gave him that assignment, he wanted to get rid of the elders anyway because he feared that they were going to do something underhanded. So he wanted to take them out anyway. Okay. So he was going to get this guard, and he was going to take care of this problem that he thought that he had all in one shot, which is what happened. As a reward, Clark got this superpower now, right? Mm-hmm. So now he's the strongest out of all of them. And his power set is such that, so like Superman, he's got super strength. Now, there's no upper limit to his strength. Number one.
Stronger than Superman.
By default, he's at the very least. Well, it depends on which. Depends on which Superman we're talking about. But the basic Superman, yes, this dude has shattered planets with one blow. Yeah, he's ripped apart black holes. Right, so he's got that kind of strength. Speed, 100 times the speed of light. Heimdall, who looks through universes, multiverses, right? He was said to cross, the Gladiator was said to have crossed galaxies before Heimdall could even blink his eyes. Wow. So speed, right? He's got the cold breath. Yeah. He's got of course, the invulnerability. Mm-hmm. He's got heat vision. He's got telescopic and macro vision. So, and some say X-ray as well, but that's kind of like iffy. Yeah. So to me, that, by him being able to rip, black holes in half and shatter planets, it kind of shows you how underpowered they've actually made Superman. Mm-hmm. But that's one of the things I've always said about Superman. I want to see a show, let's call it Superman Black, right? You get this director, Superman Black, not a black Superman, but Superman Black, meaning dark. Right. Where he just unleashes.
Like James Gunn Garage Dark.
Yeah. James Gunn Garage Dark. Just unleash, and let's just see the power of Superman for real. Yeah. So this guy Gladiator, right? And they actually said, in some reviews that, and we've talked about this as well, that he's probably too powerful for the MCU. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you visually show people that kind of power? Right. It's almost like you can't. No. Like a Franklin Richards, you can't show that kind of power. And they didn't. And, even though Galactus is very powerful, I mean, they did a shitty job of showing him. What was he, like a black cloud or something?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so this guy, and so they talk about how maybe he's too powerful for the MCU, but they also talk about how underrated he has been in the comic book world. Again, he's had a couple of showings in X-Men animation, nothing big screen. I haven't seen him in decades. Like I said, the first time I saw him he was fighting the X-Men.
Yeah.
He's fought the Fantastic Four. He's pretty much beat everybody, but he does have a weakness. Like Superman, he does have a weakness.
Okay.
And like most men, I won't say most men, like some men, his performance is based on his confidence.
Okay.
Right? So the more confident, that's why he has no upper limit to his power. The more confident he is, the more powerful he is. The less confident, if his confidence starts waning, then he becomes less powerful.
Okay.
So if you get into him with a fight and you can kind of like get some good punches in, he'll start doubting his ability to fend you off, which makes him less powerful, which makes you more likely to defeat him.
So with that being said, hypothetically, we had a King of the Comics tournament here before, right?
Yes, sir. I thought about that.
Say Superman and Gladiator are fighting, right?
Yep.
Superman does not have these confidence issues.
Right.
He's got other weaknesses. He's got, magic and what's the green shit?
Kryptonite.
Kryptonite. There you go. Or the green shit. See, we're not experts.
Or the green shit.
I'm wearing a fucking Superman hat and I can't remember Kryptonite, So if Gladiator and Superman are going at it, Superman would eventually win because he's going to be able to at least meet him where he's at strength-wise. And if that happens, it may affect Gladiator's confidence is what you're saying. Mm. If that's the case, do you think in your base level Superman, would he defeat Gladiator?
I think based on that, Batman could beat Gladiator because Batman just trash talk him to death.
Right.
Yeah, just trash talk him, find out some information about him, talk about his mom or something like that, make him feel bad, and just
Which he's smart enough to figure out.
Right.
But you get like the Hulk or something, he's just going to try to fight him. He ain't trying to figure that out.
Right. So I mean, I don't think it's that severe, but that's really his only weakness, his confidence. But the fact that he spends a lot of time in space, he can do all of this stuff. I mean, and I'm sure the more fights he gets into, the less he becomes less confident in himself.
Yeah.
So I think he would probably mop the floor of Superman.
Really?
Yeah. Because Superman, he does have limits. Like when he was fighting the Hulk in that in that hypothetical.
Yeah.
I mean, Hulk was whipping his ass.
Yeah,
and Superman was just, he yielded because he thought of a way to calm this dude down, which was the only way that he could defeat him. But Gladiator, he can fight for days, dude.
Yeah.
And with no problem. Wow. So, it'll be interesting to see. So, Gladiator, just another one of those characters that is hidden. You don't see anything about him at all, not a little bit. You don't see anything about him. And, he should be, right up there with Superman in the comics. But yet we keep bringing out, Iron Man and Spider-Man. It's just like my wife said, just let him die. Let him go to sleep for like a decade. The Spider-Mans, the Supermans, the Batmans. And bring out some of these other characters like this guy. He's basically a Superman in the Marvel comics, right? Yeah. Some have even said that he's as strong as or stronger than the Sentinel, which is also based off of Superman. Right. So bring all these other characters out, man. There's plenty of them.
And he's more, or I would say he has the potential to be more interesting than Superman.
Oh, absolutely.
I said this last week on Agree to Disagree. Superman's a boring character in my mind.
Right.
I didn't say he was a bad character, but he can be boring. He's much better when he's in the Justice League, when he's in Batman stories, like when he's with others.
Right.
Superman by himself, for me, is boring.
Right. This guy, Gladiator, he is a warrior. His whole life was he's designed to protect the royalty of another race.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have those moral issues. I mean, he went and killed his grandparents essentially, right? So he has no moral cap. So this dude could be just off the chains. Yeah. I mean, he would be Superman Black.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think he's a very interesting character. Love the Mohawk.
Yeah.
Right? Big dude. I mean, he can do pretty much anything. Fight pretty much anybody. I think it would make a good movie.
Yeah, I do too. What's funny about a lot of these hidden gems? When we first started talking about this segment, I thought that the people you brought up would be characters I've never even heard of, and I've heard of most of them. I did not know anything near the level of the knowledge you knew about them. But like I mentioned when you first, The Guardian was like one of the first weeks we did Hidden Gems, right? From Alpha Flight.
Yep.
When you said Guardian, I thought Gladiator. I was like, oh, I know that guy. Then I saw the picture. I was like, oh, I actually do know that guy, but I thought it was this one. And my experience with this character was two things: an action figure and X-Men the Animated Series in the early 90s. I was born in 85, so I was, 10, 12 years old. I love the X-Men the Animated Series. And he was in like one episode, dude. This is how like cool the character. One episode, and I remember the guy.
Right.
They made an action figure about him, or an action figure of him, because of his popularity on the show in the one damn episode. Wow. I bought the action figure. I thought it was one of the coolest action figures, and I always loved the character design. I love how like jacked he was. Right. Like Superman is strong, but looking at him sometimes, the way he's drawn, he just looks like, I mean, he don't look much bigger than Batman. Right. Like Gladiator looked huge. Right. Like The Rock would have to play him. Right. you know. And so I knew him from there, from that one episode that he was in, and that was it. So my point is, in just that little bit of exposure, he's a pretty damn popular character. Right. And if they were to use him the right way on screen, like I was reading that he also was affiliated with Guardians of the Galaxy at one time. Yep. He's perfect character for that stream of movies. I mean, think about how Nova, or not Nova, Warlock, Adam Warlock, how much they nerfed him in this movie. But some of the things that we did see was his flight. It looked really awesome. Like, people joke about this because now James Gunn's running the DC. They said that he wanted to perfect that flight before he started working on Superman. Which, I mean, they did it was much better than anything we saw with The Flash. Right. So imagine like how they portrayed Warlock. Now he's the neutered down, baby version he's a premature fucking baby. Right. But a character like this in that realm of movies, it would fit perfect.
Oh, absolutely. The reason that he first fought the Fantastic Four was because he thought that the Fantastic Four, or wait a minute. So and talking about intermingling, not the Kree, because he has fought alongside the Kree against who were the
Skrulls.
The Skrulls.
Yep.
The Skrulls, he thought the Fantastic Four had been taken over or replaced by the Super Skrulls, by the Skrulls.
Oh, okay.
So he was fighting them, not knowing that, who they really were.
Got it.
So the Skrulls interaction, the Kree, Guardians of the Galaxy, X-Men, the Fantastic Four. So he's been around. Yeah. He's interacted with all of these major characters, but they never pulled him out on his own or even brought him up any more than what they have. Yeah. And when was that the X-Men animation? 85, 80?
No, early like 90s. Yeah, 90.
So it's been 20 years at least?
Over, yeah.
Right?
Almost 30. Yep. So, well, hey, another great pick, another great Hidden Gem segment. Again, if you like this, check out the Hidden Gem playlist on our page. Now, moving on to another segment we have here called Agree to Disagree. So this is where we show you guys out there how adults behave. We don't always agree on everything. No one gets upset. No one gets offended. We just agree to disagree and keep it moving. So I'm going to rapid fire 10 of my opinions at Adrian, and Adrian's going to tell me if he agrees, disagree. He may have some other knee-jerk reactions to some of these. He can throw a flag on these if he wants. And now we've been, not that I'm trying to get you to disagree, Adrian. I'm just I try to go through my thoughts each week and think about some takes that I have that not everybody agrees with. Okay, and that's where this starts. So it's not necessarily about trying to get you to disagree. But it's always fun to see how many times. Last week you disagreed twice, and the week before was twice. So we had 80-20 going on. We'll see what we can do this week. So,
all right, let's go.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Let's do it.
Number one, Ben Affleck looked the part more than any other Batman/Bruce Wayne actor.
Agree.
Iron Man was a B-level hero before the MCU.
Agree.
With prep time, Batman can defeat anyone.
Agree.
Guardians 3 is the best of the trilogy.
Agree.
Batman Begins is better than The Dark Knight Rises.
Actually, I've seen it a couple of times now. I agree.
Wow. The X-Men would beat the Avengers.
X-Men would beat the Avengers. Agree.
Cap was right during Civil War.
About?
His side.
Agree.
Iron Man 3 is a Christmas movie.
Okay, I agree. Iron Man 3 is a Christmas movie.
You do, really?
Yeah, I agree.
Batman Returns is also a Christmas movie.
Batman Returns is also a Christmas movie. It can be a Christmas movie. No.
Last one. Nobody wants to see anything in black and white anymore.
Agree.
Okay, cool. Only one this week.
Only one this week.
Only one. All right, well, there you have it. Now, do y'all agree or disagree? This is where it gets fun.
Right.
You know, I get a couple, everyone. I agree with everything this man says. And then they're like, I was with you on the first one, and the rest are not. So, but it's all in good fun. Man, I gotta try harder. I thought the Iron Man Christmas movie would have stumped you.
Yeah. It almost did, but
yeah. Now you're on my side.
Yep.
All right.
We can roll with it.
Cool.
But I'm also looking for. I'm actually in Christmas mode already.
Okay.
Right. So I'm looking at Mel Gibson. If you guys haven't seen Mel Gibson, The Fat Man, you got to watch that.
Okay.
It's about him playing Santa.
All right.
It's cool.
I'll check it out. You're in the Christmas mode already.
Already,
we still got Halloween, man. Halloween's in it next week.
If listen, I'm in whatever mood. I'm in Home Depot and Lowe's so much. I'm in, whatever mood they're in, I'm in, because right now, if you go into Home Depot, if you go into Lowe's, it's all Christmas. It's all Christmas, dude. Forget Halloween, forget Thanksgiving. It's right to Christmas.
Right. Oh, so you were in Halloween mode in the summer then, because that's when they had that shit. It was like August, dude.
Dude, I was in Halloween mode when I went on my cruise, dude. You got to see the zombies open that joint.
I bet. Yep. So, all right. Well, there you have it. Agree to disagree. Next up, we got a quick little segment. We were talking last week, so we kind of posed the question: is there too much in the MCU? Like too much content to consume to even be up to speed to watch something like Loki season 2, right? And I say. Now, I'm a fan of it, so I guess for me there's not. But for a new viewer, like imagine, Adrian, you going to someone who's not watched any MCU stuff. You know, maybe they've seen a couple comic movies here and there, you know, Spider-Man, whatever. And they go, dude, I want to get into this comic stuff. You know, I want to watch Loki. I've been hearing about this show. Now, and they asked you, is there anything I need to watch before that? What would you say?
I would say watch Thor first, just to get to understand who he is. If you've never read also I was into mythology.
Okay.
Like all the mythology from Egyptian,
really?
Norse,
before
Greek,
comics or
before comics. I was deep into mythology, so I knew who these characters were anyway.
Got it.
I just had never seen them in the comic book version. So I would say. If you really want to deep dive, go into mythology first, Norse mythology, to understand who Loki really is, because they don't really do him justice, even in the comic books. So I would say start there just to get a premise of who he is, and then kind of expand wherever he goes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say go watch Guardians of the Galaxy to understand who Loki is.
Right.
If you only want to watch Loki, that kind of thing.
But to understand the show, right, all these multiverse timelines,
yes.
I mean, I'd have to be like, dude, you'd almost have to watch everything. Right? Like, unfortunately. Because if I go, well, just watch, from this movie on to the, like if I go, hey, just watch from Infinity War on.
Right.
Or Endgame on, right? Because that's when the time travel stopped.
Right.
But then they go, well, wait a minute. Why should I care about Loki? And what's his relationship like with Thor? And who are the Avengers, right? You'd have to. Right. So, unfortunately, there's so much content, right? Or fortunately.
I don't believe that there's too much content. There is so much content, but I don't believe that there's too much content. I think it's too complicated. I think they're making this. I mean, you walk into a house of mirrors with the comics these days.
Right.
It's like, where do you go? What am I looking at? And if I go down this path, then it splinters off into something else. So now I'm so far away from where I originally started, I don't even know how to get back anymore. So I think they're making it too complex, and then blaming you for not understanding what they're doing, because there's definitely not enough content. Because just they keep replaying the same Batman stories, the same Superman stories, the same Spider-Man story, when there's so much more to their existence. And then all of these characters, right? I mean, just like the past 10 weeks, we've talked about hidden gems. You can make movies about any of those.
Right.
And they would probably be better than some of the crap that they're putting out now about the existing characters that they keep resurrecting. So too much, I don't think.
Right.
I just they make it too complicated. It's muddy, and they're going too deep. They're deep diving on popular characters instead of going wide and bringing in other characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't say too much. There's so much content though. Like if to get someone to watch, or if someone came to me cold and go, "Yeah, I want to check out Loki," you know, where do I start? I'd have to go, dude. You have to watch a lot of shit, bro.
Right.
Put Loki on the back burner for some time, right?
Right.
Or maybe come across one of these guys on YouTube that summarizes it. Watch one of those, like a 20-minute summary.
Right.
I don't know. But to your point of it being too complicated, I think what's happening, and the box office would back this up, right? Because Marvel movies still do very well,
right? But
they don't do peak Marvel numbers. The last few, I mean, Guardians may have done $1 billion. I don't know if it got to that point, but I mean, that's the end of a great trilogy. But the Ant-Man did horrible. Thor: Love and Thunder didn't do a whole lot. Here's my theory of what's happening, and your point of it being complicated backs it up. So think about this, right? This MCU started in 2008. I'm looking at it now because our next segment is going to be a hypothetical rewatch. May of 2008, Iron Man was released, okay? We, yourself, me, a lot of us have been fans since that movie, right? We've been on this long ride. They've lost viewers along the way,
right?
Okay? They've brought on new viewers along the way. But it got to a point, I think, around Infinity Endgame where it was peak. There's people who I never knew liked these movies are in the theater like, oh, my God, it's the greatest thing ever, right? And then it became, like, popular, became the thing, the cool thing. And then it went from that to multiverse stuff, to your point, very complicated.
Right.
Diehard comic fans, we get it. We love it, right? Like, I'm good. I can keep up. My thing is not about me and you. It's about how do they bring new viewers on right now? I don't think they can, because they've grown this for so long. They've had this kind of key audience that's been with them. They've lost some of them along the way because of whatever. Some people don't like their inclusion in movies, and they see a gay character, they lose their mind and stop watching it. Whatever, that's their prerogative, right? They change a certain character. It's not true enough to comics. They stop watching it. Now, in the past, they could lose viewers and bring new viewers on because the story was still kind of going. Once Endgame happened and they had this whole kind of reboot, and now I feel like they're trying to rush this next phase, this multiverse, and they're trying to top what they did with Infinity War. Infinity War and Endgame were somewhat complicated at the time with the time travel and all that, but dude, that's like elementary compared to this multiverse stuff.
Right.
The average viewer, this is over their head, I believe. Right. So I think right now, my theory, could be completely wrong, is the MCU is in a space right now where diehard fans, that core fan group, the comic book, crazed demographic, they're here. But to attract the everyday viewer, the new viewer, the casual viewer, I don't think they're here anymore. Right. That's my theory because of it being complicated.
Yeah. I mean, I know people. So when I first got up north, I met people that hadn't even left the county that they grew up in.
Yeah.
Right. So no world exposure is my point.
Yeah.
I knew a guy who lived on a island and never seen the ocean.
Okay. Lived on an island and never seen the ocean.
Yes.
Wow.
So I'm trying to paint a picture of people that have limited exposure or limit their exposure. I'll say that. Okay. Right. So there are people that they can only watch certain types of movies because they can't wrap their minds around those kind of movies. So now you take a superhero movie, right? That's already a mind crunching thought, right? This person that looks like you and I, but has all these crazy powers, right? Oh, I can't deal with that.
Right.
Now you take something like time travel, Endgame, right? Okay, so I can kind of wrap my mind around that now that I've bitten into this entire cow that I have to digest, right?
And it's not the first time we've seen time travel on screen.
Right.
Just
you had like Doctor Who's and all those kind of things.
Back to the Future.
Yep. So now let's take all of that and now let's just start popping across universes and stuff. And then let's throw out there's multiple universes with multiple timelines, but now there's one timeline that's completely linear, in around which every other timeline moves, and we can just pop in and out. Those people that live on an island and never seen the ocean, you will never get them.
No,
as a fan, and it's going to get ridiculous to the diehard comic book fans because they're going to be like, dude, I mean, why are we even going down this road?
Right.
This is nonsensical. Besides the fact that it's not even entertaining, right? And then what about all these other characters because Marvel is more than just Spider-Man and the Avengers.
Right.
There's other people too, and they like those interactions, but they're so busy trying to make things complicated instead of just making a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think they're in a. I'd love for even somebody watching who goes, I started watching comics in the last 2 years. I'd love for you to tell me your experience.
Right.
Because how did you come into this with over a decade, 15 plus years of story? And did someone tell you to catch up? Did you watch something and realize, shit, I'm lost? Let me go. What is that journey like? Now, on the other front, if you're, let's say you found comics late or whatever, you avoided the MCU for some reason and you're getting into it now, well, dude, you got a hell of a fucking story to watch.
Right.
From that sense, and which brings us to this segment, rewatch, right? Something that Marvel MCU fans do on occasion, rewatch. I'm not done in a while now that we've got so far. But, you've done this before, right? Rewatch the movies from start to finish.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to do a hypothetical, right? Let's say me and Adrian, let's say we agreed to do a rewatch, and we said that we could have, let's see, there are, how many phases? 3, 4, there's 5. 5 phases of movies have been released so far, okay? So how about we say, Adrian, 32 films, 5 phases. We're going to do a hypothetical rewatch, and we're going to have 5 skips. And we're going to discuss the movies that if we were watching this right now, what movies would we skip because we didn't want to watch them? Right. So we'll have some fun with this. And you guys, after you see our list, hey, chime in, let us know where you're at. So I'll read the movies, Adrian, and we both throw out which one we would skip. So phase 1, okay, this is where the whole thing kicked off. Iron Man 1, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America First Avenger, and The Avengers. For me, this is easy. I'm skipping The Incredible Hulk.
I agree.
Okay. Now, actually, let me say this too. You don't have to skip one per phase.
Right.
You have 5 total. Once you use your 5, you're done.
Right.
So I'm going to use one of my 5 in this. I'm skipping Incredible Hulk. I don't want to watch that movie.
I agree.
Okay. Phase 2.
Even though this is not the agree-disagree part, but I agree with that.
No, it's not. Phase 2, Iron Man 3, Thor Dark World, Cap Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man. Would you skip anything here?
I would probably the Age of Ultron, only because I didn't like what's his name's voice from
James Spader.
James Spader.
Okay.
I love him as an actor.
Yeah.
The Blacklist. I love that show.
Okay.
But him playing that voice, my mind was always in disagreement with the voice.
Really?
Yeah. So I couldn't. I was struggling just getting through the movie because of his voice, because it was like out of place. Like Brie Larson playing Captain Marvel.
Wow.
That he should never have done that.
That might be voice. A hot take here, Adrian. No, but I mean, that movie's got a handful of critiques for various reasons. I actually like the voice. Now, I also can't remember who James Spader really is, or I've never seen his other movies, so maybe that's
Have you ever seen the very, very, very first Stargate?
Nope.
Oh, wow. You got to watch that. Stargate. Then he popped up again. I'm sure he was in something else, but then I didn't see him later until he was older, playing the Blacklist, which he's like a super villain spy.
Okay.
Dude, to me, the Blacklist, at least when it first started, was just as powerful as Breaking Bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Got it. Nope. So I'm not familiar with it. That's why I liked it.
See, another hidden gem. Didn't even know it.
There you go. Exactly. Hidden gem continue. Part 2. Phase 2. What am I? I'm definitely skipping Thor: The Dark World. Dude, I almost want to use 2 skips here, to be honest. I think I'm skipping Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Yep. I only got 2 skips left. That's actually no, because there's going to be some shitty stuff coming up. So I'll watch Ant-Man. I'm skipping Thor: Dark World.
I actually liked Ant-Man, the first one.
Yeah, well, it was not bad.
Yeah, the second one, I haven't even seen it yet.
Yeah,
it just
second
looks
one
bad.
was a ways, and third was oh god. All right, so we both have 3 skips left. We both skipped Incredible Hulk. You skip Age of Ultron. I skip Dark World in Phase 2. Phase 3's got more movies. So you're talking about, it's funny, the way these phases progress. So you have, 6 movies in Phase 1, 6 movies in Phase 2. Now, Phase 1 was from 2008 to 2012, okay? So you're talking, 4 years there, right? And then Phase 2 was from 2013 to 15. It's only 2 years. So 6 movies in 4 years, then 6 movies in 2 years. And then Phase 3 was 3 years, but dude, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 movies in Phase 3. Yep. So Phase 3, we have Civil War, we have Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Endgame, and then Spider-Man Far From Home.
Captain Marvel.
You're skipping Captain Marvel?
Yeah.
I'm actually, so you got 2 skips left.
Yep.
I'm not skipping anything from this one. Just because I feel like it's about to go down. So you got 2 skips left, bro. I got 3.
All
right. So you're skipping Captain Marvel. Although you did say that, one of your favorite things about that movie is they crashed in a blockbuster.
Right.
It was funny. As much as I don't like her portrayal, I don't hate that movie. It ain't my favorite movie, but it's tolerable because I like Sam Jackson in it, and I like the 90s kind of atmosphere. So I'm going to stomach that one again because I want to skip some shit coming up because it's about to really get bad. Now, if we had more skips, I would have skipped that and Ant-Man and the Wasp, but... So that was the Infinity Saga, as they call it. It wrapped up with Spider-Man Far From Home. Multiverse Saga. There were 2 phases into this now. So Phase 4 of Multiverse, and this is actually Phase 1 of Multiverse Saga. Black Widow. And this actually was over 2 years, 21 to 22. So they released another 7 movies in 2. So they slowed it down a little bit. This was during COVID and all that. Black Widow. Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, and Black Panther Wakanda Forever. See what I tell you? Yeah. It was you wish you had more of them skills. You got 2 left, bro.
Right.
So I have 3 left. From this phase, dude, I'm going to skip Eternals. I'm going to skip Black Widow. All right, so now I have 1 left. And I'm going to skip, Thor Love and Thunder. All right, I have no skips left. All right, what about you? You skipping anything here? You got 2 left.
So can I just say half the list? Is that considered
you only
skip?
got 2, bro.
Well, that's 1 skip. Half the list.
No, you got 2 movies.
Dude, this is bad.
Yeah, see?
Definitely Eternals.
Okay. And then your last one. It's like, dude, are you gonna stomach? You gonna watch Black Widow, Black Panther 2, or Thor: Love and Thunder?
And it's more disappointment than just. Actually, it's more disgust. No, I won't say disgust is too strong.
Yeah,
it's disappointment. But Black Panther.
Wow.
So Eternals and Black Panther off this list.
So you'd watch Thor: Love and Thunder again over Black Panther?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'd watch that split. Yep.
All right. So we're both out of skips.
Yep.
Phase 5, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
But hold on, Phase 5 is stuff that hasn't even come out yet.
2 of them have. So So I gave us 5 skips. So.
Right.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and then Guardians of the Galaxy. So I know I would have no issue watching Guardians 3 again.
Right.
Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now, as much as I don't like the movie, overall, I would definitely keep all my picks. I would rather skip Thor: Love and Thunder and then rewatch Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania because of Jonathan Majors' portrayal of Kang.
Right.
So if you've still not watched that, I would say skip to the fucking Jonathan Majors part and just watch that.
Right.
But anyway, so there you have it. There's our list. So let me try to remember what we skipped from Phase 1. We both skipped Incredible Hulk.
Yep.
Phase 2, I skipped Thor: The Dark World. You skipped Avengers: Age of Ultron. Phase 3, I did not skip anything. You skipped Captain Marvel. Phase 4, I skipped Black Widow, Eternals, and Thor: Love and Thunder. You skipped Eternals and Wakanda Forever. And then Phase 5, we were all out of skips, so we watched Quantumania, unfortunately, and Guardians 3, which I think we both enjoy. That was one of our early deep dives. So there you have it.
Yeah, but I mean, Secret Invasion is on there.
Oh yeah, the shows.
So that's definitely skippable.
You hate that show so much. We're not even talking his shows, and you just want to point out that we're going to skip that one.
It's again, it's not hate or disgust. It's just disappointment.
Yeah.
It's just it had the potential to do so much. I was actually excited to see Emily Clark in it in the beginning, and then she turned out to be a huge disappointment.
Right.
Not Emily Clark, but the character. And then they gave her this insane power set at the end, which, I mean, it was used in a ridiculous, way. Basically a fireworks of powers. And then at the end, with all those powers, how does the show end? She's walking down the alley, walking. She's got the powers of every Avengers in the universe, and she's walking down an alley at the end of the show. I mean, come on.
Yep. Well, there you have it. There is our hypothetical rewatch. And I'm trying to think, like, I do want to do that at some point. It's just, dude, it's a lot.
Right.
I've not done it since probably Endgame came out. Sat in, and watch movie, and I would probably get through like maybe 2 or 3 a week. It's it was fun though. Rewatching them, you see a lot of shit that you kind of forget happened or whatnot. But then you watch some of these older movies and you go, damn, we've fell from this a little bit, right? Like, and also some of them hold up better than others. Like Iron Man, the first Iron Man, dude, still holds up.
Oh yeah.
Great movie. Special effects still hold up.
Yep.
Like a
classic.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Now, before we do our last segment, our deep dive into Loki, you said something earlier, Adrian. You were talking about power sets during your Hidden Gem segment. And I'd say, I don't know if this is the intentional theme about that segment, but a lot of times you feature characters that may be too powerful for screen.
Right.
Or too powerful for the MCU. This is where my theory, I got my theories, Adrian.
Okay.
So I believe this is why characters are too powerful for the MCU right now. And I think it has to do with how the origin of the MCU, right? Because in a comic book world with these powerful characters, think about when a Gladiator is introduced, there's already this comic universe that exists.
Right.
There's already powerful characters out there. The MCU, Iron Man started this. Iron Man's a regular guy like me and you. Puts a suit on, and now he's got powers through the suit, right?
Right.
So because the fact that Iron Man starts, and at that time, he's the only superhero that they know of. Now, they've done some retconning where they, do Captain Marvel in the 90s, and they make it seem like she was already there and all this stupid shit. But I think because they built this like character by character being introduced into this world where there aren't supers. Think about if they were to introduce it, like they had to even neuter Hulk.
Right.
Incredible Hulk. Now, there are some worse Marvel films than that, you know. But would you agree that Hulk's power set was neutered in that movie?
Absolutely. That movie was more about his rage than his power set.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely. They definitely neutered him.
Now, this is my theory. If they were to show Hulk full power set, you know, to that type of portrayal on screen, think about at that point, there's no one else that could stop Hulk. And I think that's the trouble they put themselves into by building it this way in the long run. Right. Because you're building it character by character, you need like almost like non-super powered characters to help stop this individual. Right. So you got to neuter him. Because if he was full-blown Hulk, they wouldn't have stopped him.
Right.
You know, so my theory is because the way it was built piece by piece, instead of dropping us into, and this is where I believe if they did it this way, they could portray these power sets properly. If they were to drop us into a world where all these characters already exist. And the everyday person knows about, like, just like dropping into comic books. Superman already exists. Right. He can have this massive power set, and there could be other characters equally as powerful that can offset whatever because it already exists. If you're going to introduce them piece by piece, you just have to keep introducing a more powerful character after character after character.
Right.
And I think you lose the audience.
Yeah.
So that's my theory. If they drop us into a world, which DC is doing, James Gunn, this whole DCU, gods and monsters concept, they are dropping us into a world where everyone already exists, which is why with their Batman movie, Bat Family's already here. Damian Wayne's already part of the story. So I do think, you know, from that standpoint, maybe they'll be able to portray more powerful characters on screen properly. But that I think it would work there. And I think the reason it hasn't worked in MCU is the way it's been built piece by piece. But
I can agree with that. But I also think that they do it because but you got to understand, we are already in that world. They should just allow us to live it, those brief moments,
right,
while we experience it. Allow us to, live in that world, while we're interacting with your characters, right? So we're already there. I think they do it because, I don't know, maybe it's a little fear. It's like they always want people to kind of subliminally, in the back of their head, whatever that word is, in the back of their mind, they want them to think that normal, regular people can control all these superpowers. So, we need a sonic gun to bring down the Hulk. Or we need this little rock that can bring down Superman. Or, this little thing here this collar can take all their powers away, and we got a special gel for them. So some kind of way, they always got to that's why Waller's and that the British chick is also so popular and so powerful. They have the Superman equivalent of in human power that a Superman has, so that we can control these supers regardless of where they come from. So I think there's a lot of that in play as well.
That makes sense. I mean, think about Avengers. They had Nick Fury created the Avengers in the MCU.
Right.
In the comics, he didn't create the Avengers. Right. Avengers created the Avengers.
Right.
So I think that is a piece of it too. And which maybe that's just the theme of this MCU. That's what they want to do there because they want to incorporate the human. Great, but I guess from that aspect, as much as I said and disagree that I think James Gunn will screw up the DCU, I hope he doesn't. And I hope that dropping us into this world with existing characters allows us to see, now this critique for me is more on Marvel because I think in, Black Adam, we'll say Black Panther, Black Adam, I think we saw power sets how they should be seen.
Right.
I think we've seen it in some of, as much as I give the Zack Snyder Justice League shit, in some of, like in the Snyder Cut, Superman's power, we've seen Superman look like how he should. We've seen Flash looked way better in Zack Snyder's Justice League than he did in Andy Muschietti's Flash film.
Right.
The powers and what, like, so I guess, if I'm betting on one to do that piece better, I think it would be James Gunn with the DCU.
Yeah, but still there's that control because what happened at the end?
Right.
Superman didn't just show up because Superman could have came and intervened. I mean, you got this whole country being run by these thugs, right? Yep. Superman could have been there. But what happened? Waller sent him there.
True.
So there's still that control.
Yeah, that part of it, absolutely. But and who knows why they do that, dude? Who knows? But anyway, there you have it. Little sidebar, I guess. We have these sidebars in Only Comics. We have the agenda, and then we're like, hey, how about this, dude?
Right,
you know, it's just, we're like fucking squirrels on like methamphetamine.
Right,
you know?
there you go.
Oh shit, new nut. You know.
Yeah, but that's why our fans interact with us, and that's why the directors are also watching us.
Right.
You know, and Tom Cruise.
Yep, I think Brie Larson's gonna start watching this soon too. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So last up, I don't know if that's how you say it, but next up, final segment, deep dive into Loki, episode 3 of season 2. 3 episodes left. We're halfway through this show, and I think each episode, I started off first episode, I think I gave it like a 6.8 or something like that. Last week, I think it was around a 7. I give this one probably, I think it's the best of the 3. I'd probably say 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how about you?
I agree with that number also. It was entertaining. It was engaging. I liked Loki actually being Loki.
Yes.
Throughout all of this, I like the period changes.
Yes.
And the it's like reminded me of like Star Trek.
Okay.
Star Trek, when they go to an alien planet, and they dress the part, in order to visit them, so that they don't stand out. So I kind of enjoyed that. So it was a good show.
Yeah, I think it was a good use of. I agree, Loki being Loki, using his powers and stuff. Like even just that, like we show up, that's Loki's power, right? He's making it seem, or he's changing the clothes or whatnot. But yeah, I like this. I like the ties to the first season, like bringing Miss Minutes back.
Right.
And it seems like there's a lot more to that character. Then, at first she just seems to be this innocent AI. Now it kind of seems like she's in on this too. And I love that, we got to see this variant of He Who Remains.
Right.
I thought that was like one of the highlights of this episode, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Jonathan Majors, great.
Right.
We've now seen him in 3 different portrayals of this same character. He Who Remains, King the Conqueror in Ant-Man, and now God, what was the guy's name? Timely. Victor Timely.
Yep.
A variant of He Who Remains. And I thought his portrayal was great. They're all different, but similar enough to go, okay, he is a variant of that, which is cool. Because a lot of times in these movies, what they do is they get different actors to play the same, variant, right? So I thought that was really fun. But yeah, I agree. The time changes. I mean, going back to the 1800s, and now we again start to see that time travel works a little different in this show.
Right.
And again, I don't know, is this just a cheap, a cheap like storytelling kind of method are they changing it just to fit their story? Or is there some reason why the time works a little different in this timeline? I don't know, because everything we learned in Endgame about how time travel works in the MCU contradicts this. Because there's a scene where He Who Remains has sent Renslayer, who was like the girl kind of running the TVA in the first season, and Miss Minutes back in time to drop this TVA guidebook off to a young Victor Timely.
Right.
Which then prepares him for what he's going to do in the future. Now, according to Endgame, this should just create a new branch timeline because you're now changing something.
Right.
So I don't know, and I guess it remains to be seen, right? So I this is a good thing. The fact that we can't figure the show out 3 episodes in.
Right.
Because, I mean, a lot of times with the show, you're like, oh, we never predicted Gaia would have all 32 powers at the end.
Right.
But a lot of times with Marvel and these shows, they become too predictable. This, I don't know where this is going.
Well, as far as time is concerned, the sacred timeline is more linear. It's like, in Star Trek where they can create camouflage, and so they can actually be sitting somewhere observing a culture, and the culture can't see them.
Yeah.
So the sacred timeline is kind of like that, where they can pop in and out of any branch of time that they want, and they can pop back into theirs, and theirs remain consistent.
Okay.
Now, in your timeline, in our timeline can fracture, it can change, and so on and so forth. theirs do not, which makes them the overseers.
Yeah.
So it definitely works different for them. They just figured out a way to pop in and out regardless of how it fractures.
Yeah.
Which is also why they can watch it when they start bombing these universes and killing off these timelines. They were able to watch and see the effect of it, go down. So I kind of think that it definitely works different for them than it does for the rest of the universe.
And I think that's what we'll eventually learn in this explanation, because we've heard this statement several times, especially in the first season, that time works differently here. Like Loki, how long have you guys been here? We don't really know. Time works differently in the TVA.
Right.
So I'm sure they're going to play off of that. And I think they've done a great job of connecting things to this show. I mean, we talked about earlier how much you need to watch and know before, but I think they've done a great job of pulling from other shows. You can tell that whoever's writing this has either been involved in some of these other shows or is just very aware of what's going on in the MCU, which sometimes there's a disconnect with that, with shows and movies.
Right. He's this person, he or she, or they, they're doing their homework.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But I like the whole storyline of them going back, and then they fast forward kind of 25 years later. Now he's an adult and he's presenting this temporal loom prototype, which is what they're trying to fix in the future.
Right.
Because we still have this, I maybe I missed a part or maybe I just ain't smart enough to understand all the multiversal travel, but something's happening at the TVA where these branch timelines are like being destroyed, and they need this temporal loom to like basically keep them intact, essentially.
Okay.
Is, I guess, what I'm gathering from it. But for some reason, or not for some reason, he who remains DNA, he needs to be the one who is present to, I guess, fix this temporal loom. It only reacts to certain individuals, and he created this, essentially. It wouldn't work with my man Obi last episode. So they're basically, we have kind of two groups of individuals going back in time for the same individual but different reasons. Renslayer and Miss Minutes, they want to restore order to the TVA. They're carrying out He Who Remains mission. So we do learn this, that He Who Remains kind of set this up to where he knew he was going to be killed. So he lied to us. He said he didn't know it was going to happen. He knew he was going to be killed. And he set Miss Minutes and Renslayer on this path to go back in time to make sure that he is created again, essentially.
Right.
And so they're doing that. Then we have Loki and Mobius going back in time to first of all find Renslayer and stop them. But now they're going, well, shit, He Who Remains, he's a variant. This is before he becomes He Who Remains. We should bring him back so he can fix the temporal loom before he's corrupted, right?
Right.
Dangerous because he still has to, we know who he turns into.
Right.
Like going back in time to get with Thanos before he has this idea of collecting the Infinity Stones to have him help you stop someone. You know what I mean? It's like dangerous, like shit. Right. He may take this turn a little sooner than later. So that being said, I like that premise for this episode. I think it, sometimes these shows drag. I like these shorter shows of 6 episodes. I think it doesn't drag because they have to finish it up in a few. I remember watching Secret Invasion. We're like, dude, it's episode 4, and we're still nowhere near the end.
Right.
What are they going to do? And, of course, they rushed it all in the last, and the episodes were like 12 minutes long.
Right.
These are not too long, but, 45 minutes or so, 48. Not bad. I don't need it to be 2 hours, but, God, 20 minutes, then I'm like, what else do I do with my night,
Right.
So I like that premise. There also was there's almost a few groups chasing him. You have the group that they're trying to buy the device from him, the temporal loom prototype, and then it doesn't work like he says, and everyone's chasing him down.
This variant is like a dick, right?
Yes.
So he goes around, he's like a con man.
Yes.
He's going around making this stuff that he knows
it
doesn't
barely works.
But he's doing it. He's just like any other, not any other, but he's like the typical inventor, right?
Yes. Yep.
He needs money to fund what he really is trying to make, so he's being shiesty and selling this stuff that looks good, but actually doesn't work at all. The guy with the mechanical pants,
yes,
right? And then this time loom that's just shoots out basic static electricity,
right?
So he's conning people to get money from them. He even did you see him slide that money over to the guy at the bar?
Yes.
The guy wasn't interested in the device, he was there just to amp up the other guy to pay him more money.
Yep.
And then he slid him that money at the end.
Yes.
So he's a con man.
He is.
So that was interesting.
Yeah, which I mean, I guess kind of makes sense, right? Started out as a con man and eventually wanted to control all the timelines and universes.
But doesn't that make a loop somewhere? So if he knows he's going to die, he gets killed, he sends people back in time before he dies to give him a book, so he creates himself in the past for him to come up to the same point to get killed again, to send, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's got to be a split somewhere.
There's got to be.
You know?
And the fact that he knew he was going to die, I don't know if that was confirmed. I suggested that. I don't know if they actually confirmed that. They did confirm that this was his plan. Maybe this was a backup in case he died. Who knows? Because in the end of the first season, he does say, like, this is, at this point, I don't know what's going to happen next. And we do see the timeline kind of branch. So maybe that's accurate. Maybe this was a fail-safe that he had in case.
I don't know.
Who knows? But again, I like when it's, you're talking out of both ends. Probably it's what we do sometimes here, right? It's like in one sense we're saying I don't want it to be too and actually we didn't say we don't want it to be too complicated. We said it's too complicated for new viewers.
Right.
We've been here for 15 plus years. It ain't too complicated. It's complicated though.
Right.
But I said this a few times. I like the fact that this could go any way, and I'm not 100% sure. Usually when it's done shitty, I can predict what's happening.
Right.
And this is good that I can't.
Right.
It's
there's nothing worse than for a movie to just be bad, but bad and predictable.
Right.
And this was neither. I'm really interested in the next one though.
Yeah.
Because of what happened at the end of the show.
Right. What about the end's got you interested in the next one?
I got a story. I got some news about you, and if I tell you, you're not gonna like it. So I'm spinning on that one.
Yep. Yeah, Miss Minutes, bro.
Yep.
She's a little bit of a savage. Dude.
Yep.
I like how she changed based off of the timeline too.
Right. She also changed. She's like a mood light, right? She wait a minute, Miss Minutes. Oh, okay.
The little orange thing.
The little orange thing. She changed based on her mood too.
Yes.
Her personal mood. She got a little sassy there.
She did.
My little backstabbing, man. She set up all of that stuff to get rid of Renslayer, and then she was like, "Listen, I want to be your woman.
Right.
I've been with you from the beginning, and you've given me everything but a body. So we need to make this happen."
Right. Yeah. Yes. Because is she the one who's really behind this?
Right.
And now, as of right now, we believe that He Who Remains created Miss Minutes. But we know with this show, we can find out tomorrow, next week that's not the case.
Well, she said it. He made her as a distraction, like as a toy, something to keep him company in the beginning. But then he gave her the programming to program herself.
Right. Yes.
So he did build her according to Miss Minutes. Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely intrigued by that. And to see, where all this lands. Like, is this the only variant of Kang we're going to see in this show?
Right.
I mean, they're going timeline. Maybe another one shows up. We still got 3 episodes left.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that maybe Kang didn't know, or He Who Remains didn't know that he was going to die. He probably, I think, Miss Minutes knew because she's AI.
Right.
She can sit there and do billions of calculations in fractions of seconds, right?
So she set this up.
She put all this stuff in play so that because she knew that Kang was going to die, right? And if something happened to every one of his variants, she wouldn't exist.
Right.
So if he dies before he creates her, then she won't exist. So she's set up to make sure that he lives somewhere.
Got it.
Right?
I can buy that.
And drop the tools. Not only that he exists, but also give him the tools to become who he is so that he can create her.
Right. Because if I remember right, last episode of the first season, Sylvie and Loki show up to the end of time.
Yep.
Miss Minutes is there, I believe, at the door. And I think once they go inside, I think she kind of she's not there. She doesn't go inside with them. It doesn't mean she's not there.
Right.
So whether she knew that far in advance or she just she was there. She's watching it go down. After it goes down, maybe she comes up with this plan.
Right.
Because he allowed her to think for herself, right?
Right.
So think about this. So one prediction could be exactly what you're saying. She knew because of all her calculations. The other could be she didn't know. Now, one thing they did know is that if you kill He Who Remains, countless variants of He Who Remains will be released.
Right.
That we knew season 1. Mm-hmm. Right? So that happens. Miss Minutes now knows this. Does she then go, all right, now that I know what just happened, in order to have He Who Remains back here, she comes up with the plan to go back in time, give him the book. Mm-hmm. Maybe He Who Remains didn't even have that plan. Maybe he truly didn't know that he would be killed.
Right. Because who was at the end of time with Miss Timely?
He Who
Miss
Remains.
Minutes. No, well, He Who Remains was
Miss
dead.
Minutes. Yeah,
Miss Minutes.
Yep.
So if she could be there and have observed all this stuff, she could pop anywhere through time.
Right.
And so she can go forward, backwards, and she's probably the only one that can, like, let's say, multitask, right? Mm-hmm. She can be many places instantaneously, so she can pop around and do all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And the only thing that she can't do is make the one who made her.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
So she needed to put in place the checks and balances to make sure that she exists. Mm-hmm. So I think she's behind that. That's a bad girl, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that she's now trying to take over a body somewhere, right? She wants to become what human is. And then the other group that's chasing him is not really a group. It's just Sylvie. Sylvie's trying to kill him.
Right. Right.
Which you gotta love, dude. That's just Sylvie being Sylvie.
which is interesting because I thought she was going to slaughter what Miss Timely.
Yeah, Miss Minutes.
Miss Minutes.
Yeah.
I thought not Miss Minutes.
Renslayer.
I thought she was going to slaughter her. Man.
Yes.
But she sends her to the end of time.
Yep. No, she pruned her. Did we ever see where she showed up?
Who?
Not Miss Minutes, Renslayer. Oh no, she does send her to the end of time. Okay,
right.
Got
Which
it.
is where Miss Minutes was.
Right.
And told her, I got some information about you that you're not gonna like. So the fact that she just popped up, so Renslayer doesn't know how to move through time without a device or whatever.
Yeah, the temp pad. Yeah.
And Miss Minutes, she just not only did she show up where Renslayer was, but she knew exactly where she sent her.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So how does she know that?
Yeah. How does Miss Minutes know that?
Yeah.
Well, she was there.
Was she there?
She was there at the end of the first season, so she knows where the end of time is.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it sounds like the next 3 episodes, if our prediction's right, Miss Minutes is going to be a bigger antagonist. Right. I think she's going to be part of, or at least the one that started this, this path to get He Who Remains back.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because when she did that whole psych split switching, in that lab, man, I was like, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, she got a little. They were a little like, I feel like we were on the episode of like The Bachelor. We got Miss Minutes and Renslayer both trying to like charm He Who Remains. Shit.
Right.
Want to use an AI? I don't think you stand a chance, bro. But yeah. So all in all, I think great episode.
Yep.
I think unlike some of Marvel's recent behaviors, I think this show's been getting better episode by episode, which is good. It's why I say first one was like 6.8, which I don't think is bad. Mm-hmm. To me, that's good.
Right.
And now we're getting to like really good, and who knows, we may end up with a great finale.
Right. We'll see.
I'm going to predict that. I'm not going to predict what's going to happen, but I am going to predict that this finale will be much better than Secret Invasion.
I'm thinking so too.
You think that's a spot-on prediction,
right? Especially since it's interesting to just sit there and watch. It's good content.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see there's cliffhangers.
Yes.
And I'm interested to see what happens next.
Feels like a show.
Unlike Secret Invasion, which I was like, can we just please end this? Just put me out of my misery, kind of a deal.
Like, I understand there's a lot that goes into writing these shows, putting them together, but let's say how hard. Why is this not, like, the way these episodes are handled where they do leave us with a cliffhanger each week? Mm-hmm. That's how a show like this should be done.
Right.
It feels like a show. Mm-hmm. Secret Invasion felt like a movie that went on way too long.
Right.
And was broken up into 6 episodes because they wanted to deliver it as a show.
How does a movie that feels like it went on too long, but it's only 15 minutes long?
Yeah.
How does a a film short seem like it's going on forever. That's crazy.
Because every 10 minutes they stop the show, they give you the end credits, and they go, wait till next week. You're like, dude, this is literally like a 3. I just play the whole damn thing. It sucks anyways.
Right.
But no, kudos to Marvel so far. 3 episodes in, great. I think when it's all said and done, I mean, do I think Loki may do I switch and say Loki's better than WandaVision? Maybe. As of right now, I say WandaVision is the best show, but this one is now a little unfair. It's got a second season, but hey, I think and the impact it has on the MCU. I mean, the first season created the multiverse,
right?
You know, the same thing that we're kind of halfway bitching about,
right.
But hopefully this follows the trend, and the end of this season impacts the overall story just as much. You know, I'd love to see that.
But what's interesting is that, 5 years from now, maybe not even that long, because these movies get more and more complex. 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're gonna be like, it's gonna be like Iron Man 1 was.
Yeah.
There's so much other complex stuff that multiverse is going to be like nothing.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like we're going to be bitching about something else.
Exactly.
And then multiverse is going to be like, that's just the way it is, right?
Everyone understands the multiverse. Yeah, it's like time, everyone knows how time travel works, obviously. Well, there you have it. There's our deep dive. Let's give them a little sneak peek to what's happening next week, Adrian. Okay. We have a special not that every episode isn't special, but we have a special Halloween-themed episode. So we are going to, we will definitely discuss episode 4 of Loki. We'll do our usual, maybe we don't do such a deep dive, though, because next week we have the long Halloween, right? So Halloween is next what, Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
So next Monday, 5:30 Eastern time, we're going to drop our long Halloween special episode. So I got this, Adrian. I didn't even plan on this. I just left it in my bag. But we got this. My absolute version. This is a great addition, by the way. So I started going through it again. You start reading yet?
I have not.
You have not? You've seen the 2 movies already?
I saw the 2 movies.
I watched those. I've seen them a few times. I watched them again a couple weeks ago. So what we're going to do next week, we actually have our special guest, Chris Boyle, coming in. And he's a big fan of this comic. In fact, he said to me when I met him a few years ago, he's like, I reread that every October.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, I don't do that intentionally, but I pretty much do, because I normally take like a trip around this time of year, and it's usually somewhere where there's a lot of foliage, and for some reason I bring the long Halloween. Actually, I normally bring the edition I lent to you, but I bought this one this year, so I'm bringing this big bad boy. So I have been reading it about once a year as well. I love it. It's probably my favorite, or at least my top 2 or 3 of Batman comics. The movies I enjoyed. I think you also said the same. So we're going to next week do a deep dive like we did. We've done this with A Death in the Family. We've done this with Hush. So we're going to do the same with The Long Halloween next week. So a deep dive into that. Nice Halloween-themed episode there. Adrian, you'll have your hidden gem as always. Maybe you'll have a spooky hidden gem, maybe for Halloween. Is Dracula? No. Is Dracula a character? Is that what it's going to be? But that's what we got on the books for next week. So this was fun as always, Adrian. Appreciate you coming in, joining me today. Appreciate the hidden gem and the agree. You almost got you 10 for 10 this week.
Right? Almost.
So there you have it. That's This Week in Only Comics, where we discuss comics and only comics, and sometimes some other stuff a little bit. But one thing that we will continue to do is shoot y'all straight. Give you our opinions, good, bad, and different.
Right.
Not worried about what anybody thinks, because we don't give a shit. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit the subscribe button. Drop us some comments. Let us know how you feel. Adrian, any last words?
Only that, so this is impressive. This would have been coveted, a coveted item. When I was younger. We're not sponsored by DC, but DC, if you want to, drop some dough this way, we gladly accept it. But we only got stuff like this when I was younger in the big Conan books, like the black and white Conan.
Yeah.
Those were like, those were like gold to us.
Yeah.
Something like this would have been just over the top. I mean, this thing is heavy, still got that new comic book smell to it. So it's nice. If you're into comics, pick up something like this, I would suggest. It's definitely impressive. But outside of that, thanks for watching.
We'll see you next week.